So, any interesting developments in your personal precognition over the past couple of weeks?
Oh well, it actually seems kind of like my precognition's taken a break from being in my dreams,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's kind of like trying to like lately I've been going through like just a lot of like personal stuff,
Oh, sure, yeah.
and so like I think that like one, my dreams have been so vivid, and I've been having so many of them lately, but they're all so therapeutic for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like my subconscious is just trying to like walk me through like this whole process of whatever it is I'm going through right now.
Oh, sure.
And but what's interesting is so now instead of precogging at night, I'm having like self-help like things happen to me, and then so during the day, my precognition is for uh, like I'll just randomly kind of sense an upcoming therapeutic reward, if that makes
Uh-huh.
sense, like that feeling that you get when
Right.
yeah, I've been precogging those moments, which has been really cool. Kind of like dangling a carrot in front of me and being like, "Don't worry, like something is right around the corner that you're gonna think is so awesome that you're not even gonna remember anything." So,
Wow, that's super cool.
yeah, I'm pretty lucky though. But yeah, that's just me
Super useful. Um,
for once.
hey, I know because so much of this precog stuff is just it's just silly and kind of trivial. You know,
Yeah,
like I always have those Nick Cage movie spoilers.
yeah.
You know, I have an awful lot of stuff like that. Yeah, I posted last week about my dental precognition.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was the latest one that happened to me. Yeah, and it's often with my dreams, it's the little like kind of throwaway little images that turn out to be precog.
Hmm.
The sort of arc or the narrative of the dream, the weird they get real weird. And the weirder they get, the less I recognize anything in waking life.
Yeah,
But I had a dream about this weird little three-timed um, set of tweezers that I couldn't quite get to close up properly. And then I had a crown go bad, and I had to have an extraction. It was my molar that had 3 roots, and I made them give me the roots afterwards. And like I'm traumatized, my head's bleeding and everything. And a couple of days later, I pick up the little box with the roots, and I was like, I wonder how these fit together. And I put them in, and it was my dream. It was just a little, I was like, oh, well, there's the three-time tweezer kind of thing that doesn't fit back together again. Huh? Okay.
that's so specific. That's bizarre.
Yeah, yeah. And no, I don't know how useful it was, other than like, when I got a precog thing, it's kind of like, oh well, I guess we're in the zone, or we've got the signal line, or we're going in the direction we're supposed to go. But sometimes I don't know what else to do with that.
Yeah. Actually, since you bring that up, like that kind of always existing type feeling, like, okay, good, that signal exists. I'm on that frequency. Like, um, I've been better than ever before. I've been able to return back to the dreams as I'm like waking up, and then going and using the restroom and then coming back. Like, um, but more than ever, it's just giving me that vibe of there's always like some sort of dream state, like mental state that's happening in the background that we don't even know. And it's like, it's complete with its own visuals, its own storyline. And then like for us, there's also some precognition, like signal that's seemingly there at all times. And I've just been becoming like so super aware of that.
That's pretty cool. So like just while you're awake, you'll be like, oh yeah, here it is.
Yeah.
It's sort of like
Like
deja
there's a
vu.
mind palace that I can traverse.
Yeah, yeah. Do you get kind of like a deja vu or a deja rev kind of thing, or?
Oh yeah. For me though, that's always kind of nonstop, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's been getting really cool and vivid, but it's just it almost feels like I could map out like where in my mind like these things are at all times. It's getting weird.
Yeah, well, just gotta write it.
Yeah.
as long as we are able to maintain consensus reality, I think that's the main thing.
Yeah, like always having one foot on the ground, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
I'm like that person that more than anyone I ever knew, like I dissociate and like daydream, and just I'm willing to just go all out and then just know that I'll come back safely.
Hmm. Yeah, I wonder about that. I mean, we've talked, I guess, I don't know, on this channel, but about like the whole precog trauma history thing.
Yeah.
And I've got a trauma history that I'm working, doing therapy on. But there's the the whole concept of part of the reason why we developed this, like everybody can basically do it, but the reason why we might be able to do it a little better is because it was kind of a survival skill when we were kids to be able to be like, oh, this doesn't feel too good. Maybe I should, maybe I should make myself scarce.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and that, like I was also really dissociated when I was a kid, and I watched that. Like there's good being able to take yourself out of a situation and remove yourself from the immediate emotions. And then there's like, just pulling the curtain of fog across and just like getting lost.
Yeah.
So, I think about that too.
Yeah. Like, I know I should be like going through therapy for like certain things, and I'll always allow therapy for like the smaller kind of less sensitive traumas, I guess. But yeah, like there's just some things that you kind of just don't trust anyone else with, and so you're kind of trying to deal it all on your own. And like you said, like kind of when I was little, I didn't ever, pull the veil back like all the way and just go. Like I tiptoed into it. I didn't even know it. Like, I didn't even know like people got high when I was little. Like my entire family was, and they knew what drugs were, and I didn't. And but I would just like have that desire to just like dissociate. And yeah, it's a trauma response, but it got me by. It's a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's interesting how precognition seems to be an additional coping mechanism.
Yeah,
which is kind of like a silver lining to trauma.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely something that you can, once you can square it with like, this doesn't mean that I'm descending into psychosis. This actually is a thing. It exists. That was the biggest thing for me. Like it was like a couple of years ago where I was finally like, I just have to say, this is happening. And I don't think I'm crazy. I personally have been in an awful lot of therapy. And if I was crazy, I think I would know this by now. But yeah, so like being able to bridge into, the precog thing and be like, okay, there's actual science about this. Like I can lean into that a little bit and maintain some sort of level-headedness, like groundedness about it. That was really important to me.
Yeah. That's always been really important to me. So I've been making sure to like spread that on the subreddit and just let people know. Because a lot of people come onto here posting, talking about how they definitely feel crazy. And I always like to just be like, well, that's not crazy and precognition go hand in hand. The two aren't mutually exclusive, but here's where you're not crazy. So the rest is kind of up to you.
Right.
It's nice that there's so much science about it. It's reassuring.
Yeah, it sure is. No, I like to say like, okay, do you have a job? Are you, paying your bills? Or do you have kind of a functional life? If you can sort of tick the basic boxes, then just because you're having precog experiences does not mean that you're losing your mind.
Yep.
Because I see a lot of people like, what's happening? It's okay. They just didn't tell you that this is a thing.
Yep, absolutely.
So here we are telling you that this is a thing. Speaking of dreams, I read Eric Wargo's latest book, and he's great. Gosh, I wish we could get him on this.
That would be wonderful. I could actually get that set up so quickly. You have no idea.
Yeah. Oh my God. He's awesome. And because he is doing the science, and he is responsive on email. If you email him with your precognitive experiences, he's gotten back to me twice on it. So that's nice.
Nice.
But in his book, he's describing, basically his recommendation is you keep a dream journal. And the longer you're able to do that, the more you will generally be able to see that you do have precognitive dreams, that pretty much everybody does. And this is true. Yep. But what I have been kind of personally struggling with, and I don't have any frame of reference for this. My dreams are really, really weird. Like really, the imagery in them is sometimes just beyond bizarre, and it's difficult to like when I write them down, it's the little specific things that aren't so bizarre that like 2 days later I'll be like, oh, that was precog. But the ones that like I can't even decode, like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, I dreamed that I inherited Hitler's golf shirt. And I'm at a loss. I don't know what to say about that one. I had one the same night where I was able to correlate it to the movie, the latest Thor movie that I saw the following day, because I often, I dream movie spoilers. In the movie, in the dream, the motif was I was interpreting it as like I was on this magic carpet that was part of a parade that was being thrown by the mafia. The mafia had these unmanned flying like magic carpets that were in this parade, and we'd sort of infiltrated them, and the carpets detected that we weren't supposed to be there and then like turned on me and started to chew on my feet.
Oh my God.
But because they don't have teeth, they weren't really, hurting me or anything, but it was just this. And then there was just this, they put on this like DMT style, like psychedelic visual show, just and I woke up going, what the hell was that? And it wasn't until later that I realized that probably what I was sensing were motifs from that movie that I saw the following day in the afternoon. There weren't any magic carpets, but there was, in the movie, they're flying around on a magic Viking ship that's being towed by goats and leaving these like streaks of light and color behind them. And the movie theater where I was watching it is one of those with the Barca lounges where you lie back and your feet are like, in front of you. And so I was seeing my feet with the screen with all of this, stuff behind it. And I was like, okay, that I can decode. But I'm still at a loss with Hitler's golf shirt.
Wow. Yeah, I'm always appreciative when there's like some sort of almost like framing device that helps you understand like, okay, this is going to be something I'm going to feel like immersed in, which means it's like a media thing that I'm going to absorb.
Right.
I always appreciate that. Yeah, like I'm trying to picture like what type of shows and movies you'd have to watch in order for that specific example to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and also sometimes like sometimes I get like the really long game Precog stuff, because I think my record is 35 years that I've had a very vivid dream that I remember when I was 7 years old, and it turned out to be a scene from a movie I saw when I was 42.
Oh.
Yeah. It was such a vivid dream that I remembered it all of those decades. And then, I'm like 42 years old and I rented this movie and I was like, oh, wait a second.
Yep.
Have you seen the movie?
Which one are we talking about?
Book of Life. It's an animated movie. It's one of the several movies that have been made out of like Day of the Dead type stuff.
Let's see. I'm going to Google it real quick. Book of Life. Because there's this one movie. Let's see. There's this one movie where there's like a cat named Pangerbon and everything. Oh, Book of Life.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah,
I love that movie.
That's The Secret of Kells. That's a really good movie.
Yeah, Secret of Kells is good, but also, so I'm seeing the pictures and everything now. Yes, I remember watching the Book of Life. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's a scene where everybody's in the world of the dead and they're trying to get to sort of like the big temple or whatever, and they have to jump between these moving blocks that are sort of floating.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the main, like motif in my dream when I was 7 years old. And, everything, it was very, very like right there. So it was just enough that when I saw it, I was like, oh, wait a second. Wait a minute. Wait.
See, now what's interesting is that's like a really colorful and awesome movie. And like, it kind of affects like that child, like inside of us. And it's just really interesting to think of that being precognitive at all. Like maybe if we, like, I know like our childhood's already like solidified, but I mean, how many more things could we watch that like touches us on that level where it actually ends up being precognitive in some way? Just, that's so cool that you dreamt of that when you were a kid.
Yeah, I wonder about that. And then there's also this like, okay, so 31 years ago when I was 17, somebody gave me a hit of LSD. And I was at the time like suicidal. Like I really had I was just having a real bad time in my life. And halfway through this trip, I experienced where my future self came to me as the 17-year-old, like I was visited by my future presence. And this future self of mine, sort of basically like put her hands on my shoulders or my hands on her shoulders, whatever. And was like, yeah, life sucks right now. And it's gonna suck for a while, but it's gonna get better. And I want you to know that it's worth getting through all of this stuff. You're not gonna kill yourself. You're gonna get through all of this. And then look around, and she pointed out all of these different situations, and I was suddenly able to see, like, get some perspective on them and go, oh, this is really not like as big and awful as I thought. And I was able to like push aside, half of the stress that I was going through. And that really, like, that saved my life. And what is really interesting is that in my 40s, I'm 48 now. And it was like when I was 45, I got into this trauma therapy. And there is a modality that has been developed only in the last decade or so called IFS by a guy named Richard Schwartz that involves specifically visualizing and going back in your mind to the times when you were experiencing trauma and basically like, talking to and retrieving your former traumatized selves. And I was able to do a session with my therapist and go back and retrieve my 17-year-old self out of that terrible situation.
Oh my God, full circle.
Yeah. And actually, there's a really good podcast with Tim Ferriss. I can find a link for that if you're interested, where he interviews Richard Schwartz and they explain it. And I was just like, that is like, it was really, I was like, wow, okay. So when I was like 45, 46, 47, like starting to do this work and I was going back, like, I had to wait until this therapy, this modality was invented.
Yeah.
But somehow in my little psychedelic adult 17-year-old brain, like I had picked up on a signal that I was broadcasting back 30 years in the future.
Man.
And I'm still here. It really did suck. I've had a lot of sucky times in my life, but I'm still here and I'm going to continue to be here. And I'm glad to be here. So. Oh, it's wonderful. Thank you.
It's been a while since I tried one of the buttons.
Yay.
Wow, like I got a little bit emotional just listening to that because I can imagine how transformative that would be and everything. I had my own experience but see, it's so weird. All right, so my whole like experience with seeing myself in the future in a dream, like it's only once been very therapeutic, and another time it was just looking in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
But right before I got into precognition, like what you could say is like my career. I'm not making money off it or anything, but I dedicated my life to it a long time ago.
This is your calling, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing is I was 21 and I was at my peak of having precognitive dreams and recording them. And I had designed a website where you could like type up your dream and the keywords that were in the dream dictionary. Like you could hover over them and you could use it as a timestamp for everything. Like it was so neat. But then I realized Reddit was around and I'm like, that seems a little more convenient for everyone.
Yeah.
But right before I got into all this, like for my life, I had just such a transformative dream where I was walking around and I felt lost. And all of a sudden, this old man, me with gray hair and a long beard and cool clothes, just walked up and he called himself the Dream Helper.
Oh, wow.
And I don't remember what he said right now because all I remember is he reassured me. And then I watched him walk along and he had other people to go help. And so he walked over to like a group of girls and he just said, "Hey, do any of you have deja vu?" And I woke up after that and I'm just like, I think I know what I want to do with my life, but is that like a career? Like, is that, it's not like a pre-made cookie cutter, like template,
No.
anything. And yet I was like, you know what, for my life, like that's what I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you got your calling, and your future self has affirmed that that this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And, you know, and another thing lately, so like just the other day I decided, what was it? Oh, it was the newest post on the subreddit. Not maybe the newest one, but one of the newest ones. They talked about how they had their, like all their precog dreams recorded like for the last 4 years.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, you know what? I have all of my precog dreams recorded, like all the major ones. And I've been recording all the little ones, and well, little or big, since 2018 or so. And so I went back and I spent an afternoon just going through my dream journal for the last 4 years. And I found, let's see, 1, 2. I'm trying to find it here to get the number. It figures I can't find it. But I've just recently switched my notes from Google Keep over to Evernote. And so, so this is somewhere. But yeah, just there was like a dozen or so precognitive dreams from the last 4 years. And it's just so interesting how many of them were from season finales of TV shows. Yeah, TV spoilers, like movie spoilers. I do that all the time to myself.
You know, I wonder about that, because you brought up this point about, well, you're talking about people recording their dreams, and I have wondered how much we dream communally, and how much this sort of, what is it, the Jungian collective conscious or collective unconscious, like how much that is part of what we're doing. So, because I really wonder, like, the reason why I dream so many movie spoilers, is it because so many other people are watching the movie? It's not just me, you know?
Right? Like, there's always that side of it that, I mean, obviously right now, like, science can't explain it, but, like, you know, in Julia Mossbridge's book, and even I think in Eric Wargo's book, like, they briefly just discuss how it could be connected to all that, and they do a great job doing it. But what's interesting in the analogy that, like, or like the parable, the story that I like to go off of, I don't even remember where I got this from, but there was this old story about how a group of people were shown a painting, and that none of them got any sort of special meaning from it. They didn't understand what it was at all. And then at the end of it, the artist, told them what the meaning was.
Oh, yeah.
And then he traveled to another area and he showed it to people, and suddenly they randomly knew what it was after he had, like, shown it to a large group of people somewhere else. Yeah. So whenever we start talking about, like, the collective consciousness or whatever it could be, I always just, like, put all my question marks near that story, and I'm like, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely something going on with that. Like, I had an idea. I am not a coder. I'm not a developer. I don't know how to do any of these things, but I think it's theoretically possible. There are quite a few forums where people will just record their dreams and share them publicly just because they want to. There are apps and stuff like that. I was thinking, what would it be like if you could figure out some sort of like basically like a data miner, you know, like a bot that would crawl through these spaces and look for keywords and just correlate keywords, you know, maybe like, okay, it's the 17th of the month. Suddenly there's a lot of people dreaming about the color red, right? You know, and then just see if there's anything that happens in the next couple of days that has to do with that, you know, I would be really interested in that. I don't know about the ethics of it, but if you're sharing something in a public forum, then I guess it's fair game. But, you know, got to talk about that.
Like, see, Google Trends shows you, like, when things started trending through search results, and, like, that's all pretty much anonymous or whatever. Like, I know Google does whatever with our data.
Yeah.
But like, that's the thing, is, like, we're still, like, letting them have access. So, like, we don't need to make our dreams, like, public, but we do need to, like, give them to someone so that when a lot of us start collectively talking about something, it gets, like, to someone important's attention. Otherwise, it's just a missed opportunity.
Yeah. And then there's the question of like, how much sort of skill and dedication do you need to do this? Because there's like, I do the whole remote viewing thing as well. So there's like, on the one hand, I know that a lot of this stuff just arises spontaneously among everybody. This is what the Precognition subreddit is about, is people just saying, oh my God, this happens to me. It's just spontaneously. And then there's the concept of going after it and doing like Julia Mossbridge's operational precognitive remote viewing. And when you do that, you want to be working with people who are specifically skilled and not just sort of casting a wide net. But I wonder if there isn't some kind of utility for both approaches. That on the one hand, there's like, can we pay attention to, just sort of the dreams of the general public? That would be interesting to see, if there were sort of two branches of like group precognition that you could develop.
When you said you just read Eric Wargo's newest book, was that Timeloops?
Yeah.
Awesome. That's the one that I have here on my bookshelf.
Yeah, great.
Such a good book. I used so many Post-it notes, bookmarking all the different sections of that book.
Right. Yeah, he does a really great job with it. But like I said, my only question is like, for me personally, when I get, and I actually have asked him this and he didn't really have an answer. I was like, when I get into the really, like, just into the weeds of the really extremely bizarre imagery, and what I've decided to do is instead of worrying about the narrative or how I interpret it, and this is actually something that you do in remote viewing is, you cast aside any analytical overlay, which is your interpretation of the sensations, and you just go, what are the sensations? So, like my interpretation of the sensation was that they were flying carpets, but what the sensation actually was something planar, moving through space, brightly colored, like flying around. And it didn't have to be a magic carpet. That's just what my brain decided to tag it as.
Man. Now, do you have lucid dreams?
Not really. Sometimes yes, but most of the time, like I seem to have a weird attitude about it. Like I'll come lucid in the dream and go like, oh, well, this is too much work, and just like keep going with whatever I was doing. Like I'll know I'm dreaming, but I don't care enough to. People who lucidly dream, like they give themselves, they fly and they do all of this other stuff. And like I'll come aware in my dream and go, well, of course I'm dreaming, but what were we doing? So
see, I've done every single superpower, every ability, everything you can imagine, because I've been lucid dreaming since I was 11.
Oh, wow.
Flying was the first one that I did. I've also been Superman, Spider-Man, the Charmed Sisters.
That's awesome.
The Charmed Sisters was the coolest because it was like I was playing a Charmed video game where I got to swap back and forth between the sisters and change my powers, and it was so cool. But yeah, it's so weird because the barrier that I reached in 2012 has started it came back a little while ago, where like what I mean by that is I was so focused and I was having so much progress. I was doing so many cool things with my dreams that for me was like exactly where I wanted to be. But then I hit a roadblock where it was like, guess what? Now nothing that you ever go to do will be what you expect. Like all the ways I thought I caught my behaviors and habits in dreams or with precognition, it's like my subconscious was like, okay, shuffle. All the triggers are different now. And so it was really weird because I had to deal with that, and I stopped paying attention to it. Like you were saying, like it was too much work, and it got me. Like I was like, okay, you got me. I don't want to do this anymore. You're making it too difficult. But lately, I have been lucid dreaming so much. Except I don't know if anyone remembers. Like I was talking a month ago about how I've been having false awakenings just so often.
Oh, no.
Like I think I'm awake and then I actually wake up for real. And then like there have been ones where I don't actually wake up for real, and like it's just so frustrating. And I forget who I was talking to a couple weeks back, but they were going through like seemingly like almost the same thing, which is, I love Precog talk because you know, you never think things are this relatable until you like put it out there, and then other people chime in.
That's funny because like I very rarely have those dreams, but I had one like last week.
Really? See?
Yeah.
Like we're all on some cycle, it seems.
Yeah, or it was that I had to get up and use the bathroom, and you know, they were just very simple. And like I kept thinking that I had done it, and then like I realized, no, you're dreaming. You still got to get up.
Yep, I had one of those too.
I need to use the bathroom. I'm just dreaming that I need to use the bathroom.
That one really frustrates me because I do that with also like brushing my teeth. And so like I'll be in bed, and as I'm starting to wake up, I'll be like, wait a minute, am I spitting in a sink or am I about to spit on my pillow?
Wait a second.
Yeah. But lately, like, so what just happened the other night, it was very transformative. It like coincided with how my subconscious has been trying to like guide me through stuff lately. I became lucid in a dream, and what happened to the dream before that, like less than a week before that, I became lucid, and I tried to take control of things like I knew I always could and used to, except this time I could feel like almost my self-doubt, but I still was telling myself in the dream, no, I know I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
But I wasn't able to control anyone or anything, and instead I even acted like I was dreaming even more. Like I'm saying I'm dreaming, but yet I gathered all my office like materials and I walked out of the office, and you know, you just don't do that if you realize you're dreaming. But now just the other day I finally had a new lucid dream, and man, I became aware and I looked around at the people and the room that I was in, and I had in my recent memory that other dream where it didn't work out, and I just would not allow it. And I used that like anger and that rage and that feeling like, you know, this is my dream, I will have control over it. And it was so cool because, you know, I don't know if my hands were actually up in the dream, but it felt like my hands were up and there was energy in them. And then all of a sudden I started like pulling these random rectangles out of all the walls around me. And it was like exactly what I was trying to do in the dream. And it was just so powerful. And it was just awesome because, like I said, I haven't done that level of lucid dreaming in a few years. So,
what did the rectangles mean?
You know, I don't really know. I know that there were all these white walls around me in like a weird artistic sort of way. Like, you know, how when artists draw like a big room, like with a dramatic steep ceiling, like, yeah, I with my mind, I guess, like carved out these tall rectangles. All of them were tall. So like 2 feet wide by like 4 or 5 feet tall. And like, I made them come out of random sections across every wall. And yeah, I actually don't know what that means. I always try to help people with their dream interpretation over on Discord and everything, but I didn't really think about interpreting that one just because I was so happy I lucid dreamed.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Yeah, I wonder what that could mean.
You know, and that reminds me, so when I've been having like precognitive moments lately, well, no, let me rephrase that. When I talk about my dream to my partner, I'll say something that I don't realize is bonkers crazy until like the moment I get to reflect in the fact that I told it to someone.
Right.
And those are the things that end up becoming precognitive.
Really?
So like those weird, I guess my question is like, do you ever become so desensitized to like weird, odd things in your dreams that when it comes back up in real life, you're like, wait a minute, how come I didn't notice that was a precog dream in the first place?
Yeah. My precog stuff will often like it's just like it already happened and it's just, you know, like it's just normal or whatever, and then like it'll, you know, like a beat will go by and I'm like, wait a second.
Yep.
Wait a second. That was weird. That was really weird.
Man, I just got an idea. I'll have to write this down as a note because I've been working on the Precog 101 TikTok. There's nothing there yet. It's just a bunch of ideas and stuff behind the scene. And also my boyfriend like occasionally walking me through TikTok. But a great one would be like, a TikTok about how like, oh, my precog friend, like they say things so odd and out there and they don't even realize how odd it is. And then when it happens, they're just like, see, it's not a big deal. Like,
right. Yeah. Well, I feel like this is the world that I live in, that, I'm so used to the weirdness. I have to be reminded that not everybody lives like this.
Same.
And actually, I think I do a service to people who are like really weirded out, where I'm able to just be like, no, it's okay.
Right.
It's all right. It's all right. You got a hand up.
Oh, I did not even see that. Let's see. KDC Blogs, you are invited to speak. Thank you for that. Hello. How are you doing?
You got to unmute yourself, KDC.
Reddit will fix it eventually. I hate the interface.
Right.
They pushed a soundboard out to us, but they still didn't fix how to... Oh, they left.
She left. Oh, now it says you're muted.
It says I'm muted?
Yeah, I've got a little thing that says, oh, wait, no, there you go.
Oh, so weird.
Back.
Oh, yay.
Trying to figure out the interface. Hey!
No. Oh, we'll keep giving them a shot.
Yeah, it looks like there's some sort of like flaky thing going on with the... Well, can I tell you a non-precog but synchronistic story that's kind of funny?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
It has to do with this dental thing. I just recently got over this long-standing dental phobia like that I've had. When I had this extraction, it was, it was a crown that had been going bad for a while. So anyway, I woke up at 4:30 in the morning and it was obvious that I needed emergency dental that day. So like I get in a nice warm soothing bath because my head's on fire, and I take my phone out and I'm Googling like emergency dental in my area. And I find this one place and I sent them an email on their little interface, and they opened at 7, and at 6:57 they texted me. I got in with them for 1:45 that day. I have never been so happy at the prospect of having a tooth pulled out of my head. So I go there, and they bring me back, and I get in the chair, and I take my Xanax, and I paid the money, and it's a nice little, they have a monitor with pictures of swans, like and all the soothing imagery, and they have a PA system where they're playing hits of the 80s. And I'm Gen X, so this is all my music. I know it all anyway. And I'm, sort of calming myself down with this, like, that this dentist is about to do the thing. She's about to pull this tooth out of my head. The dentist is on my right, the assistant's on my left, and literally my mouth is propped open. I'm numbed up, they're ready to go. The tools are about to enter my mouth, and the entire building loses power. Boom.
Oh, no.
My first thought was, oh my God, did I do that? Every once in a while, like once a decade, I have an episode of possible psychokinesis, and this was like, and then my second thought was, but I need this tooth gone, and all of the power came back on, and they were able to pull the tooth and everything. But this is the punchline. This is the synchronistic part. The song that was playing at the moment that the power went out, as she was trying to get into my mouth to pull the tooth, was "You Keep Me Hanging On" by King Carnes.
Oh my God.
I was just like, who's writing this screenplay?
Yes. Oh my God.
This is ridiculous. So anyway, it's not specifically precog, but I thought that was pretty funny. And then also just in terms of like, working through stuff. I had a pretty crippling dental phobia for, a good 30 years or so. And suddenly I don't have it anymore. Something
Really?
happened during that extraction, and something like turned over in my psyche where I'm just like, I am now going to see 4 different dentists. I need dental work, but I'm going to go to 4 different dentists and figure out like who I actually want to go. I feel empowered. I have agency. I'm not being pushed around by this anymore. And I'm not scared of going into like sitting in somebody's dental chair. Like it doesn't even raise my blood pressure. So I don't know what exactly happened, but it was cool.
So it sounds like the power went out and into you.
Ah, there you go. Yeah. I took the power.
Yes.
Thank you, Zach.
You're welcome. It was right there.
Yes. See, the subconscious loves bad puns.
Yep, it really does.
Okay, I gotta ask you a real weird question.
Yeah.
What color shirt are you wearing?
I'm not wearing a shirt right now.
Damn it. I did that. Oh, man. Huh. I had a dream like a couple nights ago of somebody who I believe I'm looking at your icon going, was that Zach? But he was wearing a gray shirt. So that's all anyway.
You know, what's funny. I haven't worn that shirt in my profile picture in a really long time, like pretty much since that picture. Uh-huh. I actually just wore that yesterday.
Oh.
That's cool. I like it because it says like BZ or something on there, but the B looks like a Z, and right. I'm all for that.
You're ZZ.
Yes, that's what I said the entire time I wore that.
Hey, I'm ZZ.
I like that because it kind of sounds like ZZZ, like dreaming Z's.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Well.
One thing I wanted to say, my experience, because I have been to the dentist quite a few times. I was in a bus accident when I was little.
Oh, no.
The bus was trying to avoid a car accident, and so they slammed on the brakes, but my teeth hit the bar in front of me.
Ouch.
We didn't think anything happened to my teeth at that time until years later when it turns out it pushed one of the... You know how you have teeth next to your two front teeth?
When you're 5, all of those teeth are developing up in your jaw.
Yeah, it pushed one of them back. So, like, you know how, like, sharks have those 2 layers of teeth? Like, I had a tooth back there. And then I also, later, I had to get all 4 wisdom teeth removed with that tooth. So I had 5 teeth removed at once one day.
Oh, dude, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It was an interesting experience. They gave me too much of the drug or whatever, the morphine. I don't remember what it was, but they gave me too much and I just passed out immediately. They said to count down from 100 and I was like, 100 and done. But when I was little, though, I had to get a mouth widener, and they put me under with nitrous, and it was the craziest experience ever because all I saw were aliens trying to talk to me through the roof of the dental place that we were at.
Wow.
Like, they opened a tiny wormhole and were trying to talk through this alien. And, like, so when I came back to, and the first thing I saw was the ceiling, and instead of seeing aliens or anything, there was actually a poster there.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember what it was of. It was like literally a park or something. It was supposed to be relaxing, but
right, yeah.
But yeah, it was just so weird. And I don't believe in like aliens, but it was just an interesting experience for sure.
That's another thing that you can't really get into, especially the remote viewing thing, without getting sucked into the aliens thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just I don't have any personal experience with that. I have friends that have personal experience with it, and I'm not going to tell them, no, that didn't happen to you or whatever. But I think the interpretation of what's going on is off. I don't know what's going on, but who was it? I forgot who it was that said that they doubted that they were, that this was interstellar SUVs, like, aliens coming from a different galaxy. And, the laws of physics don't really provide for that, but clearly there's something going on.
Yeah. Like, that's the fun thing about this community is like, there's so many different like quasi topics or whatever that gets people into precognition.
Yeah.
And, cause I mean, I called it dream psychic before. I didn't know like precognition. I just called it like, oh, I'm dream psychic. And so that came with like everything psychics come with, and, and then like you were talking about trying to get into remote viewing, and then you find out that like when they tried to communicate with people overseas, there was like some sort of interference that they interpreted as like extraterrestrial and everything. Like,
right.
like you said, I'm not here to dismiss anyone's personal experiences. Like, that's just so interesting. But like, I just don't get invested in it until it either happens to me or I see some really cool study or evidence that kind of backs it up.
I feel like, I mean, this is okay. I have a personal, I have a personal philosophy, just between me and the aliens. My life is weird enough. I don't need gray aliens in it. I just don't. And,
yes.
There are people who want that, and they're fascinated by that, and they enjoy that, and I love that for them. And that is not, I have a lot of stuff that I'm going to be doing in my life that I'm doing right now. And the aliens don't really further my personal goals. So it's almost like I got a little truce where it's like, you guys, you've got your, this is your patch over there, and I'm over here doing my stuff. And, if you come and get me, then that's one thing. But other than that, I'm just going to let you do whatever you're doing, and I'm going to be over here doing what I do.
Yep. Oh, man. It's pretty funny, the idea of according to what society must think, precognitive people looking at the people who are talking about aliens and being like, okay, hey, come on, back down to earth now.
Well, it's like I said, it's all about maintaining consensus reality.
Exactly.
And having these experiences doesn't negate your ability to do that, but maybe stacking them up one on top of the other might be, so I don't know. I watched the podcasts with the Tic Tac and all of the ex-Navy fighter pilots and everything, and I'm like, that is really fascinating, and I really don't want to experience that.
Right. I watched that stuff and I'm just like, okay, if this is true, this is a little mind-blowing. I'm gonna go back to my subreddit now.
Yeah. Well, it's just we're living in extremely interesting times. Speaking of precognitive stuff, do you watch Jeffrey Mishlove? Do you ever do his podcast?
Oh yeah, I love New Thinking Loud.
Yeah. He did one with what was his name? I've been watching it. Did I close the tab? Where is it? Dang it. I can't remember his name, but there we go. Stefan A. Schwartz, another Schwartz. May the Schwartz be with you. Sorry. Remote Viewing the Year 2060. Have you seen that one yet?
No, I have not.
That is really interesting because this guy, Stefan A. Schwartz, for years, he's been doing this. He's gotten together a crew of remote viewers and set the target as what is the world like? And it started back in the 70s when they first were doing, the initial sort of Stargate, Stanford Research Institute, those guys. He was remote viewing 2050, and then he decided a little while ago that he was going to, add another 10 years. So that's a really interesting podcast of his findings or his experiences with that, with all of these remote viewers. And, where are we in 2050? Where are we in 2060?
Yeah. I remember there's this Doctor Who episode of when they go to 2145.
Mm-hmm.
The world's being overrun by Daleks and everything. So anyway, it's not relatable or anything in that regard, but I remember watching episodes like that and just trying to absorb because so much, if you go to the verified claims or the studies section of Precog 101, there are so many people who are creative and producing things, either novels or films and shows, and they're precognitive and they don't even realize they're putting in precognitive things into their work, but they do. So whenever people make something and they say it's in the future, I absorb that and I'm like, let's see. I wonder, we were talking about collective consciousness, a part of me. Or even better, have you read the book, The First 15 Lives of Harry August?
I have not.
So basically, it believes, but basically it's a book where in order... so eternal recurrence is the idea that you're born into your own life, lifetime after lifetime. Yeah, so you die and then you go back to the beginning and then you die.
That's a Nietzsche thing.
That's a what?
That's a Nietzsche thing. The philosophy
I
of the eternal recurrence. That was his idea.
yes,
Anyway.
exactly. Yes. Sorry, I know that name when it's written in front of me, but I've never heard anyone say it before.
Precognition. Anyway.
But I in this book, these people, there's like a small group of people that are aware of the eternal recurrence, and they create like a society that are able to communicate with each other through everyone's timelines that they're experiencing. Because, you know, you die and then you have to wait till the person, like everyone you know in this life dies, basically, and then you go back. And they figure out how to communicate with each other, and it's through like the oldest people and then like the youngest people. So like, you know, grandparents giving messages to grandchildren, and then that being sent to people in other timelines, basically.
Oh, wow.
It's really cool stuff. I really recommend that book, The First 15 Lives of Harry August.
I will check that out.
Yeah, it is so good.
What you were talking about just now with artists being precognitive and not knowing it, there's a book by a guy named Leonard Shlain called Art and Physics, Parallel Visions in Space, Time, and Light, where he actually documents that he looks at the art that is being made in a given era and then correlates it with developments in physics that happen like 20 years later.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, the artists are basically painting, you know, like the nuclear age before it happens, like 30 years before. It's just really, really interesting.
Man. What was the name?
It's called Art and Physics. And it's by a guy named Leonard Shlain, Shlain.
All right. Yeah, I definitely want to check that out.
Yeah, that blew my mind. I read it when I was in my 20s. And that I was like, whoa, this is really cool. He's done a lot of books like that. And he unfortunately passed away, I think in 2007 or something like that. But I met his daughter. She was doing a talk at a local college here, and she's pretty cool too. So, but yeah, I highly recommend that book.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I love getting book recommendations and then reading them and then seeing if they need to go onto the subreddit under the essential reading part.
Oh, right on. Well, I hope you enjoy that one.
Thank you.